Hello and welcome back to the Jacob Collins YouTube channel. We're here for the end of season recap for 2026 season 2. I ran a total of 20 races, so about a fifth of my starts this season came in the last couple weeks, and that's got a whole story to go with it too. And it starts with a street stock race at the Bull Ring where my ISP decided that I didn't want to race in that race, and I didn't even make it to the grid. I was setting a qualifying time, I think, or I was in practice. Yeah, I was in practice for this one, set some practice laps, set some competitive times, maybe would have been able to do something in the race. Just no fun allowed. I start and finish last because my internet decided I didn't need to race that race. And then the following day, my computer decided it needed to implode, so I wasn't able to race until that Friday. I tried running another street stock race at the Bull Ring. That didn't go official. I ran Legends Road at Olton in like a Euro time slot and got bullied a bit. Finished third in this one. As you can see, me and Sebastian Giefing got into each other quite a few times. I think he just was netcode bumping the snot out of me with the ping over and over again, particularly in the likes of turn one. I think he shoved me off the track 2 or 3 times. And that one is just, that is what it is. Not too much to say about that. That was a race to move on from. I got one more race in during week 9. That would have been street stocks at the Bull Ring again. I finished second after starting, I believe, fourth in this one. Basically just spent the whole race trying to fight my way to the front couple of cars. Managed to work my way up into second before this one ended. Maybe would have been able to challenge for the lead had I gotten a restart on the inside of the track at any point in time, but I just kept getting hosed and getting positioned at the wrong place at the wrong time, and couldn't capitalize on this one. So the Bull Ring will live to fight another day in terms of me having conquered it. We move into week 10, where the Indy Next Road Series took on Montreal. I ran my one race that week and won. Lights to flag from the front, 15 laps. Not too much to say about it. Not particularly eventful. I think I went off in one of the chicanes on one of the laps, just overshot a little bit and managed to keep my wits about me and continue on. And qualifying was a lot closer than the race was, I think. Yeah, a little over a tenth between myself and Chris Cornder. I ultimately just had the consistency, was able to pull away on the start and hold on to that one. So that was a good race from me. Then SK Modifieds at New Smyrna. I was leading this race coming onto the final lap and just misjudged a lap car on the front stretch coming off the final corner, coming to the white, and clocked it. Lost the right front tire on the car and limped it around and finished fourth. So that was the first of the 3 attempts I made at New Smyrna. Don't worry, it gets better. From there, we move on to the second of those attempts. That'll be later on that same evening, where we finished second to Paul Hartwig Jr. Had a great battle with Alex McCain in this one. I started fairly deep. A couple cars made contact, I believe, at some point here. Fell down the order. I believe that's Silvestri and Gavin Higgins. Came to blows at some point in time. Don't really remember, but finishing second to Paul Hartwig Jr., who I know races these cars a lot, was pretty good in my book. So I'll take that, especially after having to fight hard to get up to second spot over Alex there. So this is a good confidence builder race. I feel like my short track skills, especially in this car, still hold up pretty well. We'll see that a little bit later on here as I end up running some more of those later on. And then Dirt Legends at Lima Land. Lap car took me out of this one. I'd led the bulk of this race, and then I just got shot up the track, nowhere to go. Lap car just kind of placed himself in my lap, and around I went. I don't remember if I spun or if I just slid or something, but obviously lost a significant amount of time. I was holding off Dalton Stevenson pretty well for the bulk of this one, ultimately just not able to close it out. So that was that race. Done and dusted. We'll come back to Lima Land later on. And this one, final race for that day was SK Modifieds at New Smyrna once again. I lights to flagged it from the front. Jackson Ezel was my closest competition. He spun off turn 2 around the halfway mark of this race, if I recall correctly. So I was able to kind of just run clean, cool, calm, consistent laps, lead this one, lights at flag, to pick up my win at New Smyrna. So that's going to be the first track of just 2 in this video, and they'll both take place in this SK Modified Fixed Series. This is actually my first win in the SK Modified over the Tour Modified. I had 2 Tour Modified wins. This is my first in the SK Modified. So cool to see that those cars got refreshed in this most recent update too. So we'll see how those continue to race into the future. Hopefully a big improvement on tracks, particularly like New Hampshire and Thompson with the asphalt seams. Seem to remember that being a big issue with those cars from a couple of years ago that never really got resolved. Tried to run Legends Road at Mugello, came up just 1 car short. That one didn't go in. We ran another Dirt Legends race at Lima Land, lights to flag from the pole. Not too much to say about this one. Just I had the pace for the bulk of the race and was able to storm away to a very comfortable win in this one. Teammate Jarrett Corey joining me for that one, and then we moved to the Legends Road Cup race that did happen at Mugello. I believe this is only one of 2 or 3 races that happened that week. Myself, Jay Bass, David Dad had a great battle between ourselves. David, I think, got loose and fell off of us at some point. Me and Jay were just fighting back and forth for the point, and I managed to sneak by on the final lap and get the win. He tried to chase me down coming through or coming off the final corner. I think he ran wide, and I was able to tuck to the inside and pull all up front of him. So that was another win at Mugello, this time on the short configuration. So I have wins on both configurations of Mugello as we picked this up earlier this season in the Ferrari 296 Challenge car that I've had a good bit of fun with for the last couple seasons. We move into week 11. This first race was Dirt Legends at Charlotte. Almost. Luke Bishop caught me, kind of moved me out of the way a little bit, especially going into 3 and 4 on the final lap. Was just not quick enough, I guess, to hold him off, but had a great bit of fun with the likes of James Watson, who I've raced a good bit in the open wheel stuff. You know, Miles Morris is back in here again, Dustin Hardy. You guys have raced a good bit over the course of the season, so it's good to have everybody out there for that one. Ran the subsequent slot after that. This time, we lights to flagged it from the front. Myself, Miles Morris, James Watson, Edie Kirchenbauer. Great bit of fun. Not too much to say about this one. Just put together a full race. This is my now highest strength of field win ever of 32.67. Gained 67 iRating for that one. So shout out to the small children that think that that's the funny number these days. We'll give them their due. Dirt Legends, Dirt Legends. Week 11 also saw the Legends Road Cup take on Scuba. I finished second to Marc-Antoine Cote. I'm going to assume he's from Quebec, given he's got the Canadian flag there. But ultimately, I just couldn't find a way to get a pass to stick around here. You see, I led 1 lap. That was basically just coming down to me getting a move made at the right time to pull ahead when following a mistake from Marc-Antoine. But it was fun. Scuba and the Legends car is just a textbook great combo, whether it be 2000, 1000. We're going to run 1000 chicane in the coming season here, so I'm curious to see how that'll play out. But yeah, not too much to say about it. It's going to be a good bit of fun this season in this car. We'll kind of cover that a little bit at the end of this video, but see the likes of Zach Falm, who I've seen around in the open wheel stuff a good bit, Christopher Kovalenko, who's raced the Legends car a good bit. Good to see him back out here, amongst others. And that does it for that race. It was the only one of those I ran that week. We ran Detroit, Belle Isle in the Indy Next car. I want to say it was Tom Wendt that I ran into when he spun, I believe in turn 3 with a handful of laps to go. Made contact with him. Fortunately, didn't have enough damage to give myself a meatball flag or any sort of significant handling problem, but I led lights to flag from the front here in this one. Jay Bast follows me around apparently and had convinced Tom to run this race, so he was fairly apologetic for both of them for causing me a bit of grief there, but it was a good bit of fun lapping around here at Belle Isle. This is my second win at Belle Isle, the first coming in the Kia Optima, I believe last season. We can double check that later, but good bit of fun there. And I believe that's it for week 11. So then we move into week 12. Kick it off with my one and only start at Stafford. This was an interesting race. I qualified on the pole. We'll look here. Qualified on the pole by over 1/10 of a second. I only had contact with Brian for about the first corner. He kind of made a little bit of move on my right rear tire, tapped me a little bit. And that was that. And then I kind of just waltzed around. I think I made contact with the 10 car, trying to lap him at some point off turn 4. I just kind of tapped him out of the way and moved him up just a little bit. He didn't get loose or anything, but you could tell that he was going to try to get out of my way there. But lights the flag from the front. First start, first win at Stafford. So this is the other win that I picked up in the SK Modified Series this season. That's going to be it for tracks in this last portion of the season. I kind of front loaded them a good bit this season, so was good to get some of these short tracks out of the way. I know they're going to be fairly tricky to keep picking up. There's a good number of them that are getting run in the SK Modified again next season, which will be a good opportunity, especially if the car gets refreshed, to maybe come to grips with that and see what we can do there. But good stuff there. We ended up running Legends Road Cup at Indianapolis, finished second to Jordan Fuchs. He was the class of field. I snuck a lot of laps out of here because I think Jordan overshot the turn into the inside of what would be oval turn one at some point, fell back a good ways. I thought me and Brendan Lyman were going to be able to stay broken away from him, but ultimately Jordan just had much more pace than we did, even kind of put together. So finished a second to him. He earned it. I completely botched my qualifying run and didn't even get a lap in because I overshot turn one both times. So I was just glad to be fighting for something at all, and had a good bit of fun. Indianapolis road course, and this was actually surprisingly a good bit of fun, even if the draft was particularly strong. And then we round out the season with the final Dirt Legends start of the season. Just ran a quick one at USA. Andy Kirchbauer was looking for a good race and ultimately didn't really get one because I think he got clocked by a lap car at some point. And I took the lead back from him fairly early in this one, if I'm not mistaken. But nonetheless, we round out the season on a high note in the Dirt Legends series with another win. Picked up some more iRating, picked up what ultimately turned into a drop week in terms of the championship. And let's kind of talk about that at the end of the season here. So, ran 100 races this season. You see, this was kind of the ones we covered here today. I guess it was less than 20. It was only 17 that we ran to close this one out. It's not even a fifth of the races I ran this season. For that one, a lot happened. If we kind of look through what happened here, you know, we had all this broadcasting coverage going on throughout the early portion of the season. Obviously, it cooled off kind of post week 7. We had the move for Belle Isle here. I went to the Indy 500 at some point in here. That was a good experience. I'm gonna try to go again next year to move from off turn 4 to try to get in between 1 and 2. I think is where we're gonna try to get seats for that one. But it's been quite the season. It's another surprising one, kind of similar to last season, getting to put the wins together for the track challenge here, and we'll kind of cover that a bit more once we get past the stuff here. And if we look in terms of tracks, this is everything but Talladega going into, or I guess coming out of 2026 Season 2 prior to any of the track announcements or changes. So that's 13, not including Talladega, left to go. So it's 14, and we'll cover that off in due time. So let's look at kind of championship results to round out the season. It was a very long time ago we ran Advanced Pro 2 Light last, back in week number 8. Picking up the win at Firebird. Ultimately finished top 15 in the points there. Wasn't really expecting much to happen there, especially given I hadn't run a full season, hadn't picked up triple-digit points every week. Tends to be at least a marker to get you inside the top 10 in that series, and ultimately I didn't do that. From there, got Indy Next Road, managed to finish 14th in points there, picked up a couple spots from the season prior of, I believe, 16th, so it could just be some people not getting their weeks in. Maybe a couple more dropping out, but we went 5 straight in terms of the win columns. I only ran the 8 races you see here in that series in this season. Was a good season overall. Participation was a big drop off compared to the season prior. We're sitting, I think we had 3,000 unique drivers or so take to the track, which is a fairly steep drop off for that series. A couple of weeks only had like 100 some signed up. I believe Brands Hatch was an all-time low of like 113 different drivers racing throughout the week. I think this season had a big drop off. I think I heard there was a big European heat wave that kind of happened that kind of wanted or got some people off their sim rigs a bit, amongst other things. So maybe things would have been a little bit better had that not been the case. But obviously the end of the season tends to drop off pretty hard, and that series certainly felt that. So the last race I ran was at Belle Isle. I ran my 8 weeks. I ran St. Pete, Barber, Long Beach, and then went 5 wins straight at Nürburgring GP, Mosport, the Indianapolis Road Course, Montreal, and Belle Isle. Skipping out on Suzuka, Portimao, Sebring, and Brands Hatch. Sebring and Portimao both impacted by inclement weather. Legends Road Cup, we slip one position backwards from the season prior. I believe Elliot Newberry won the championship again, and I want to say his teammate Nathan or Nathaniel finished second there. I've got nothing for those guys. They get higher strength of fields more consistently than I do, and they're able to put up better results in better pace than I can. So certainly not something I'm gonna kick and scream over too hard. I think the highlight here is, as you can see, the last series I'm gonna highlight here is Dirt Legends. I did win the championship here with a bit of controversy. Just I don't know what the deal is. I think we had some people upset with myself and Indy Kirchenbauer for stacking the SOFs. I'm sorry, I have friends that I want to race with, and we happen to race at the same time. By and large, I would say it was probably evenly split between races he was in and races he wasn't in that ultimately scored me points towards the championship anyway. So I'm not going to hang my head on that. And I ran consistent and was competing with the best guys that ran all season pretty much every week. I mean, one of the USA weeks in the middle of the season, I was going toe to toe with Austin O'Neill, who I figured was going to be untouchable the whole season, and we were able to at least go and contest it a little bit with him. So I'm gonna take that championship for what it's worth, and that I earned it fair and square. And it's one of those things that it doesn't hit quite as hard as the ones I had in USF, particularly that first one. But it's cool to see to pick up another overall series championship. Another thing I can add to my iRacing resume, if you will. I'll stick it in my forum bio and my Discord bio or something. But that's about it. Other than that, maybe I got to get around to printing all my certificates and framing them or something. Uh, but neither here nor there. That sums up that. If we kind of look at the subsequent look of things, if we look at like all-time bests, that was an all-time best, obviously, for Dirt Legends. I hadn't won the championship before. I believe I went from a best of 8th to a best of 1st. I think I had a top 5 going in that previous season, going into the final week at the Chili Bowl, but that had some bizarre incident in it that took me out of the winning spot in that race. Legends Road Cup, obviously, we've already covered that. Wasn't the best result I picked up. Advanced Pro 2 Light, likewise. There was one. And then Indy Next Road, we moved up just a couple spots to 14th. So that's that. Only going to quickly touch on next season. My plan is to go back to back on pretty much what I did season prior. I'm going to drop probably Advanced Pro 2 Light. I feel like I had my fun with that over the last couple seasons. Maybe come back to it in later on down the line. I think if I'm going to do Dirt Road again for a full season, I'm going to do either Rallycross Fixed, probably Rallycross Fixed, or yeah, I think that'd be the one I'd do. We'll see though. This could definitely change, and maybe I change my mind depending on how things kind of pan out there. And that'll do it for 2026 season 2. For me, obviously, if we go and look at the tracks that are left, Coronado's new, but otherwise we had 14 tracks left at the end of the season. We'll see if Laguna Seca winds up coming back around. I haven't really accounted for that in my lists just yet, but it's getting run so much next season. The likes of the USF and the Indy Next and IndyCar and a bunch of other stuff that I'm not super concerned about not having an opportunity to pick it up. It's just going to be doing it and having the time throughout the week to do that. And we'll cover that more in probably a plans video I'll record maybe sometime tomorrow or later in the week as I find the time. Appreciate everybody for watching. We'll shout out the drivers from Dirt Legends this season. We'll shout out all the drivers that participated in Indy Next, both in the Oval and the Road Series this season. We'll congratulate Jarrett Corey on back-to-back Road Series championships and Dylan Vilashinsky on his back-to-back championships in the Oval Series. Gonna be interesting to see as Dylan swaps the paint, if you will, and heads over to the road side for next season. And with that, we're going to get into stuff I'll be covering throughout the week. Obviously, I'll do a plans video for next season. And we'll do a track tier list update video, but I do need to kind of update where we got this season in terms of the track challenge. So it started off all the way back with MX5s at St. Petersburg. I believe this was in week 1 or 2. Can't remember at this rate. I'll figure it out in due time. But then week 2 for sure, Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Then we picked up a win in the IndyCar at Texas. Picked up the Very bizarre lone LMP2 at Hockenheim in the IMSA Open Series. Picked up 5 flags in week number 4 in the Indy Next Oval Series, my lone Indy Next Oval Series start. Donington National in the LMP3, my first start in the LMP3. Picked that up one late in week 4. Picked up a win at Mugello in the Ferrari 296 on the full track. And then we picked up a win in Silverstone on the national course in the Legends car. Actually went 2 for 2 there that week. Picked up Zolder in the FIE F4. Was able to kind of just mount the pressure and pick up the win there. And then we followed it up with a well-earned win at Kentucky in the IndyCar. Picked up another hard-fought one in the MX5 at Willow Springs, and then rounded out the season with 2 wins in the SK Modified, one at New Smyrna, one at Stafford. That's 13 tracks this season. We did 13 tracks the season prior. If we go back to 2024 season 4, that was the all-time high where we picked up 28 in one season. Not too many left to go. Be looking forward to trying out this Naval Base Coronado track, the Qualcomm circuit as they're coining it. And as you can see here, I'm going to be looking forward to Legends Road Cup taking on Misano Truck in week number 12 of amongst the other 2 series that are taking that on, but we'll cover that more in the plans video in due time. Have a good one, everybody, and hope everybody's looking forward to a great season heading into the second half of 2026.